Hey, how you doing? Um, you know, Today what I want to talk about is, um, when you're when you're recovering, let's say from abuse or from the drugs and alcohol, or a bad marriage, or whatever it is that is bothering you, and whatever it is that has you just enduring life or trying to master life. And not really living life. That's really what today's subject is going to be about. Of course, I'm going to always put a slant on it for the people that have been abused, but it can relate to anybody. So a friend of mine is in the middle of reading the book, and so she called and she said, "So, and at what point?" Did you turn your life around, or what happened? Because there's such a big difference between the person that you are today and the person that you used to be. And I told her, I said, you keep reading. I said, there was a time, early in my recovery that I had a spiritual awakening. And, and before that, I lived a life that was empty. I lived a life where I tried to power myself, and when I needed to get through a day or get through a situation, I just relied upon me, and I relied upon my resources, and that was insufficient. I mean, it just wasn't enough. And finally, life just starts breaking you down, or the abuse that you suffered, it starts wearing on you, and that anger that you have, it starts wearing on you, and then all your self-doubt and all your ego and everything else, it just starts wearing on you, and you take that out in one way or another. But after having that spiritual awakening, it gave my life some purpose. Instead of me relying on me and my own resources, now today I have a source of energy and a source of guidance that will never be depleted. I mean, it'll always be there in abundance. I mean, the guidance I get from God, there's not an end to it. There's no end game. It's always there. It always will be there. And also too, it's a pretty good direction. There's an acronym that was given to me a long time ago, because I mean, if you can imagine, coming off the streets and being homeless, and then going to someplace and they're talking about God, 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 God. I really wasn't feeling that, because I didn't see any God in my life. I just didn't see any God in my life. If there was a God, then how could God let those things happen to me at such a young age? If there was a God. I didn't hurt anybody, so it's not like as though I deserved that, because I didn't. But what the gentleman told me, he said, you know what, Gene, don't worry about that God thing that you've been taught all your life. Just think about God as good, orderly direction. That's all you got to worry about. Just think of God, G-O-D, as good, orderly direction. And once I adopted that, then it made it a little bit more, it made it a little bit easier, a little bit more palatable for me to kind of, start turning my life over, which I needed to do. But I was just real hesitant about it, because I just didn't see God in my life. And if he was there, then he couldn't be a very just God, because of the abuse that happened to me, and the abuse that I even took myself through. But for me, what happened is once that evening, is when I had my spiritual awakening. And that evening, when it happened, it all made sense to me. Everything made sense. It was in a blink of an eye, and I had that spiritual awakening, and it made sense. And at that moment, hope was restored. You know, life didn't look like it was just a dead end street, or me wishing I would just rather die than to keep living this life. You know, at that moment, it all changed. You know, I had hope. Dreams that were once crushed had been restored at that moment. And that was a big thing, because I had stopped dreaming. You know, I had stopped dreaming a long time ago. Things that you know, that most people dream about, you know, that wasn't for a person like me. And I think I was maybe at the age of 15 when I gave up on those dreams. 17 at the latest, I know for sure, that I gave up on those dreams. And at that moment, all of that was restored. And I can remember the day that it happened. And I can remember what somebody told me. They said, you know, you open that door of willingness, which I think I talked about in the last tape, and something will happen. He said, just be willing. Just be willing. And you know, that day I was willing. And that night, you know, I had that spiritual awakening, and or that aha moment, or however you want to describe it. For me, I describe it as my aha moment, like, oh, I get it, aha. Or, you know, that spiritual awakening, which, you know, I refer to it as also. But if you're living your life, you know, just trying to get through life, just enduring life, or trying to master life, trying to be, you know, be in control, you know, there is another way. If you're a victim of abuse, and you're in this recovery process, you know, hang on until that spiritual awakening. You know, be willing. That's all you have to be. And keep searching, and you'll have that aha moment, because it's just not for me, it's for everybody. So you just, you know, you hang in there, and because when that happens, you know, your life will have meaning. You know, there will be a purpose, and all the things that I even talked about earlier about forgiveness and trying to understand people without being understood, all those things then will make sense. It'll all fall in line, and you'll say, oh, I get it. I get it now. And things will fall off. It can happen in a blink of an eye. But, you know, if you're struggling with the God thing, then use the GOD, good orderly direction. That's all God is just trying to point us in the right way. And you know, hang on to that for today. Hang on to the good orderly direction, and stay willing, and you know, that moment will happen for you. I know that it will. I know that it will, because that that feeling of purpose, and feeling of not being alone, and that feeling that no one is out there helping you live through this big bad world. You know, it will go away. I mean, we were born with that spirit inside of us. Over the years, or you know, over the tragic events, it starts to kind of go away, or starts to get pushed down. But once you have that spiritual awakening, it will come right back up to light, and you'll be able to see it, and it'll be clear to you, and it'll give your life. It'll give your life a renewed meaning. So you hang in there today. Do what you got to do. If you're not hanging in there today and you're feeling good already, then good for you. God bless you. And help somebody on this road. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.